Picking up from where we last left off, the hunt for the Kotetsu sword sends us to Delta Hideous Destroyer's Far Thunder. The recruit interested in the sword is a heavy blade named Sanjuro, named after the character from the film Yojimbo, for as is revealed from correspondence with him in Affection Mail, Sanjuro is a period film and history buff, with an obsession with the work of actor Toshiro Mifune, and Sanjuro himself features a familiar voice. Yes, it's once more time to pay tribute to the god of English voice acting himself, Stephen J. Bloom. All praise to the voice! Steve Bloom also does some other uncredited work in here too, voicing the Piney Apples and some of the grunties using his Guilmon voice. Gotta love that man's vocal range. Anyway, Sanjuro hasn't had any luck hunting through the common treasure boxes and has fallen into utter frustration and despair. Good thing the world doesn't feature card games or motorcycles, otherwise his current mood could give Aporia a run for his money. As you'd expect, the Kotetsu sword is in the God statue at the bottom of the dungeon, so it's literally the last place that Sanjuro didn't look. While you may be tempted to give it to Black Rose to get some points up, it's really better to recruit another Heavy Blade for when she isn't available. As you can never go wrong with a swordsman voiced by Steve Bloom. Okay, bad example. There is always still Mugen. Next we head off to Thetasoft's solitary tribe Pansy to approach the Gardenia fan club. Right inside the dungeon, said fan club girls present a letter to Kite, asking him to give it to Gardenia, who is further in the dungeon. Why don't they just follow after her and present it to her themselves? Are they too low level? Is it the celebrity effect where one acts like a total idiot when in the presence of someone whose work they admire? Gardenia isn't happy about it when you find her near the second floor, despising the girls who make up her quote-unquote fan club for their weak resolves. Maybe she should consider opening up a Pokemon gym instead. So yeah, she just continues further on into the dungeon. At the bottom, she struggles with the Guardian, prompting the team to intercede to help. Seeing Kite's own form of resolve, Gardenia agrees to accept her fan club's letter in Kite's possession if they were to trade member addresses, and proceeding to use a Sprite Ocarina to escape her stalkers. What a nice lady. As it turns out, Black Rose contacted the board poster about the area they searched before, and it turns out the keywords he posted were changed. Black Rose instead has gotten the real keywords, but it's a bit beyond you yet, and you're missing a needed virus core. Fortunately, Mistral wants to see the bracelet in action and calls us up. Though once in Dunloriag, a player named Aperon, God, I swear I'm mispronouncing that, is haggling with her over a rare item. Mistral has said is an item hunter, so of course she wants it, heading off to try and sell some stuff. But Aperion turns to Kite and offers it to him for cheap, who refuses repeatedly to the point he just gives it up. The item is the Book of Iron, and like the Book of Law, it's meant to override a character, which doesn't work on the bearer of the bracelet. He also says to watch out for Helba, which is stupid as Helba is a helpful stalker. Though since Aperion is the King of Light and the epitaph of Twilight, it does make sense that he doesn't like the Queen of Darkness. Mr. returns with an area in mind, so form up the party. The gate needs hacking too, so remember to have 2 A virus cores and the N core you picked up earlier. As you would expect from needing a gate hack, Theta Collapsed Momentary Spiral is infested and in need of a data drain cleansing. Though the need for that escapes Mistral, who simply believes the area just has a cool custom graphic design. At the bottom of the dungeon is an infected 1,000 trees Kite needs to drain. Fortunately, the tree has the virus core you need for the next area, and while Mistral's informed of what's going on, she sees it all as one big game event.
Oh no! It started raining! I have to bring in the laundry! Sorry! Gotta go!
I'm beginning to think Mistral has the Mahoshi effect going for her. Log out to contact Black Rose about having the means to enter Theta Cursed Despair in Paradise, and recruit her and Mistral to get through the area. While it will be a fight to get downstairs due to the tendency for Dark Element creatures to inflict status ailments, there is fortunately no boss this time. Instead...
And so, I shall name her Aura. Without you, she would not exist. The shining girl, Aura.
Yeah, I have no idea what that was going on about, as it was out of context. But the room also bears a fragment of the epitaph of Twilight. You'll remember that, the epic poem written by that woman the game's creator became obsessed with. Though can you imagine if Tsukasa was data drained in this room? The teddy bears sure wouldn't want to have their picnic here. Back on the board, a player named Bob sends out an open response to Orca, prompting a visit to Delta bursting past over Aquafield once more. Bob is surprised the rumor about comatose players is real, but the conversation ends with Kite being led to another area, Delta buried pagan fiery sands, along with a stat book. Gardenia also happens to have invited Kite to Theta Beautiful Someone's treasured gem, which I'm only now getting to. The god statue has a stat book in it for Kite, an intended gift from Gardenia in exchange for her friendship, though she denies that being why she brought them here. Black Rose is still busy, so recruit other party members for buried pagan fiery sands, so we can meet Linda on the second floor of the dungeon, where she tells Kite to forget it ever happened. Seems the descendants of Fianna street cred is strong in this one, and believes an unremarkable player like Kite would be of no match for the beast which caused Orca to become a lost one. Still, she informs him of one of Orca's findings in an area, which is locked. Gate hacking to release it needs 4 Bs, a C, and an O core. The bottom floor here contains another entrance to a creator's room, but it's been gouged to hell, so no new evidence aside from an epitaph fragment is forthcoming. Black Rose, on the other hand, has found another lead, coming from a friend of a person gone missing from the game. The pair track this contact down in Theta Great Distant Fertile Land, and where else would they be but at the bottom of the area's dungeon, just as a suspicious man in the character profile of one of the shopkeepers talking to her gates out. Black Rose asks about the area where her friend disappeared, and is informed the keywords were placed on board, though that led to her being chewed out for posting a dangerous area. The board has once more been censored, but Helba, once again being a helpful stalker, recovers the deleted data for Kite. The area is Chosen Hopeless Nothingness, and rates in at level 28. I haven't mentioned the news much, as for the most part it's just lore building, but this one always stuck in my head. The news decided to cover a story about a pair of coma victims, one who recovered, and we will be talking about later, but the other was a man named Katsumi Tominari, who ends up playing into the franchise in a big way later down the line. Moreover, it shows that the censorship and isolation of the event areas isn't doing anything to stop the overall problem, and is in fact making it worse. Aura also chimes in, declaring she won't run anymore from Scathe, but there's still time to save everyone before things escalate further. Make sure your team is outfitted with their best equipment, and are at least level 30, as this is the final boss battle of this volume, and boy is it a doozy, even prompting the Twilight Bracelet to chime in its presence by glowing. The enemies in Chosen Hopeless Nothingness are tough to get through, though data draining a few of them might grant some items you may not have appropriated yet if you didn't go gathering resources from higher levels. Right before you enter the smoking door, you'll want to cast every buff you have on the party. Speed scrolls, the elemental drinks, and anything your companions may have. It helps your chances, even when they inevitably get dispelled, as they'll only ever be lost on one party member at a time. However, as Kite and company are warped to Avatar space, it's too late. Scathe, who we first met when it devoured Ryo Misaki and Sign, has injured Aura enough to perform data drain on her, and like Sora and Orca before her, Aura's consciousness is scattered through the servers, broken into fragments due to her nature as an AI. And so now, Kite and company face the first of the cursed wave. Scathe, the terror of death. Skills are a major boon in this battle, as Scathe and the other phases move fast, and have insane levels of health. Scathe especially needing to be kept at a distance if you can spare the SP, as his physical attacks are among the most damaging of the phases. Though as you're shooting for data drain, any spell that hits multiple times should be preferred, as the more times you hit him, the faster the protect break will occur. It's honestly why I prefer the spells that generate a tornado effect, even though each hit of them can be pretty weak. As I have stated, you won't be able to properly rely on the party healer for staying alive, so watch Kite's health independently of the partners. Kite can always use or resurrect. The partners aren't always so smart to do the same for him. Scathe will get each party member with data drain eventually before the battle is out, but since Protect Break won't occur on them, they're safe from becoming lost ones. The skill, however, will cancel any buff you have, and is stated for their counterpart stab reduction on top of multiple status ailments. Scathe's judgment will encase you in ice to chip off a good third of your health, so remember to fully recover after each assault of the spell, otherwise his normal attacks may lead to your loss. Eventually protection will break, and Scathe will get a taste of the data drain medicine himself, turning his body into a collection of stone cocoons. Yeah, I don't get that either. I thought they'd be reduced to some type of wireframe or something. At least now he'll have a decent value of points to chip off him and lacks his special abilities. But be careful, as the phases in this form just become even more vicious with the strength of their attacks. With the last point lost, does Scathe collapse, his structure breaking and dissolving into a liquid. A liquid that lays the nourishment of another danger. The threat that is Kubia, antithesis to the Twilight Bracelet. However, that won't be addressed until the next game, Mutation, as right after this cutscene plays, the credits roll. I'm going to save my normal post-content analysis for until we've covered Quarantine, as the 4 games really do tie together, and as they originally were all supposed to be one game, it's best addressed like that. So instead, let's cover the post-game stuff to wrap up this review. First is the event known as the Xyz statue. The Xyz statues are special god statues found in areas created from the chronicling keyword. The point is to race through the dungeons to the farthest Xyz statue. If Kite succeeds in beating Balmug's time at the challenge, he gets a set of 5 time equipment pieces. A lot of them can cast the App-Do spell that's normally found in the speed scrolls, so technically it saves a space in the inventory and cash for needing to buy them. But unfortunately, the stat improvements from the equipment are pathetic. The best area to do the challenge in is Chronicling Pagan Sunny Demon, as it has the smallest dungeon and the field is level 4. A cakewalk now that Kite and company have reached the 30s. Next is the traditional post-game dungeon. Every game has a post-game dungeon made accessible from a message from a Bandai admin who provides you with the virus code needed to hack the area. Yes, it's breaking the 4th wall, but screw it, the storyline's done by this point in this disc. This time, the area is Delta Hideous Someone's Giant, better known as the Aerial Fleet, where you can fight the Parasite Dragon. The beast has a high magic tolerance, so heavy hitters like Black Rose and Sanjuro are a must for this one. And data draining the beast grants Kite the Hyaki Doran Twin Blades, which will be useful early on in the next game, especially with their ability to improve critical hits. Third on the list is the area of Theta Dog Dancing Passionate Tri-Pansy, a bonus area housing the Ceramic Helm. It is a rare item usable by the heavy armor classes that grants the ability to cast Rig Same and Rig Geem, which cause players to recover health and skill points respectively over an extended period. An item usable next game is the Ice Bar, found in the god statue of Delta Hideous Organ Market Scaffold. You trade it to one of the other players for a rare item that's actually useful, so hold on to it. And lastly is Goblin Tag. And I fucking hate Goblin Tag. Throughout the game you will, on occasion, see posts on the board from a goblin monster challenging the players to a race. The prize for beating each one is a piece of rare armor part of the goblin set, which, when used together with the Goblin Pin key item given by their 5th member, grants the ability to summon a Goblin Golem to attack. And like the majority of rare equipment in these games, the items are worthless in actual battle. Worse, the goblins are much faster than Kite, even after being enhanced by the speed spell. You're only going to get rare hits on them, that is unless you use chain attacks like the Tiger Claw skill or spells that create a whirlwind effect. That's the secret to beating them this time around. You face 5 goblins over time: Stahoni, Janue, Zayan, Albert, and Martina. All but Martina, in this entry at least, are earth elementals, so wood spells work in your favor with elemental crits. Martina, however, is wood attribute, and worse is the one that heals herself, so you need to pile on the damage to her fast. If you can wait until the spell expires, then she'll need to pause to recast it, which will be your best opening. Goblin Tag is among the most annoying events in the Dot Hack franchise, though I do get a bit of a sense of vindication when I crush them under thumb in under a minute, rare though the happenstance may be. And don't think this is the last time I talk about the goblins either. Like the bonus dungeons, they appear in each game to come. Still, Infection was a good opening to the quartet, sparking mysteries and interest in its players and what was going on, especially if they didn't watch Sign to get a feel for the world. Character interaction played a heavy hand in progression, and once more we got a fair number of character types to round out the cast. Unfortunately, character is also the weakest aspect of the original game series, as there's not much to many of them beyond a persona and the minute details we are given, though we are at least given these details intermittently through the email chains. But the characterization of the cast is completely irrelevant to the progression of the game much of the time. You could slot any personality into a different role here, and the story would carry itself out much the same. GU, when they got to it, did a lot better in this aspect of having the characterization, personalities, and actions of the cast drive the story. Whereas here it more feels as if those aspects were superfluous in the face of the mystery. As the mystery of the setting was much of the original game's appeal, and for those out there who don't like GU, though the reasons I've heard are asinine, and prefer the original trilogy because of that aspect, well, the answers have already been given, and it's foolish and asinine to think they should have done the damn mystery all over again, instead of presenting a new one built off of the answers garnered from the first series, and a different cast with differing motivations. The gameplay, as I've said, is not that good in comparison to modern works, or even GU, and I continue to hear to this day how many found it tedious and dull if you couldn't get to the groove of it. And again, to admit to the criticisms, it is a bit of a collectathon. Almost as if it were a real MMO with its fetch quest lines. But we will see how their journeys continue when the infection gives way to mutation, and Kite's journey down the rabbit hole of the epitaph of Twilight continues.